World leaders have strongly criticized President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs, calling them a major blow to the global economy. Let's start with EU. European Commission chief, the president of EU, has condemned the move, warning that the new import taxes will fuel uncertainty and have dire consequences for millions and millions around the world. China, one of the hardest hit countries, has also voiced its opposition, threatening countermeasures in response to Donald Trump's decision to impose a universal 10%, 10% tariff on all the imports and steeper levies on 16 nations deemed, and I quote here, worse offenders. Trump defended his move as a necessary step to boost American manufacturing, and let me quote it again, it's my favorite, make America wealthy again. EU President said that the impact on vulnerable economies would be severe, dire impact. She declared that Europe would stand united against these tariffs, with the European Union now facing a 20% levy, preparing countermeasures if negotiations with the United States fail, which I believe is very likely. She said, and I quote here again, if you take on one of us, you take on all of us. Then comes Italy. Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, despite her close ties with Donald Trump, labeled the decision, and let me quote here, wrong, and expressed hope for a deal to prevent a full-blown trade war. Spanish Prime Minister reaffirmed Spain's commitment to open global trade, while Ireland's Prime Minister called Trump's decision deeply regrettable. This is what he said. Then comes France in the picture. France is also preparing for retaliation, with President Emmanuel Macron set to meet industry leaders impacted by Trump tariffs, and a government spokesperson stating that France is, and I quote, ready for this trade war. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk, I have intentionally taken his name, highlighted the heavy economic toll on his country, estimating losses exceeding some 2.6 billion US dollars. Meanwhile, China, branded as one of the worst offenders by Donald Trump, faces a staggering 54% tariffs on its goods. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce has demanded that the US immediately revoke these measures, warning of decisive counteractions, like he's going to do that. Other Asian nations have also reacted. Taiwan described the tariffs, and I quote, highly unreasonable. While South Korea's acting president, Han Duck-soo, who has, I believe, very limited time in the office, acknowledged that the global trade war has become a reality. Then comes Japan and Thailand, both hit with steep duties and now seeking negotiations to mitigate the impact. Israel, which had removed all the tariffs on US imports in anticipation of better trade relations, expressed shock as being hit with 17% duty. I don't know why they have done that. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese warned that Americans could bear the ultimate cost of these unjustified tariffs and stated that Australia would not engage in retaliation measures. In contrast, UK, the United Kingdom, is considering countermeasures, with Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds drafting a list of US products that could face new British tariffs. Then comes Latin America, which is also gearing up for a response. Brazil swiftly passed an economic reciprocity law to counter 10% US tariffs, and its foreign ministry is weighing further action. They were very fast, including possible appeals to the World Trade Organizations. Do you think Trump cares? Anyhow, Canada, despite being exempt from the blanket tariffs, is bracing for repercussions, particularly in its auto industry. The newly appointed Prime Minister Mark Carney, who has, I think, a lot on his plate these days with elections coming, he said, and I quote, fight these tariffs with countermeasures, emphasizing that they would fundamentally alter global trade dynamics. And I agree with him on a serious note. Notably, Trump's friends, Russia and North Korea, were absent from these tariffs lists, with the US maintaining existing trade restrictions on them under separate executive orders. Don't worry, they have some restrictions. However, the overwhelming global response signals that Trump's tariff war is far over, and the economic consequences could be very, very severe.